Did you know that this man changed the world forever? No, it's not who you think it is. You see, most people assume that history is made by kings and queens, emperors and actresses. They couldn't be more wrong. Most of history is actually made by scientists, inventors, and thinkers. While everyone else is busy waging wars and amassing fortunes, these people quietly make our life better. Today, we're going to meet one such man, Alexander the Great. And let me tell you, he was anything but ordinary. His contributions to science are so immense that even today, after 2,300 years, they continue to shape the world around us. So without any further delay, let's get started. A royal start. Alexander the Great was born in the year 356 BC in the city of Pella. He was the son of King Philip II of Macedon, who ruled over a small kingdom in northern Greece. Even though Macedon was a small state, Philip wanted his son to become the ruler of all of Greece. So he hired the best tutors in the world to teach young Alexander about politics, war, and philosophy. One of them was the famous philosopher Aristotle. Under his tutelage, Alexander developed a passion for knowledge. He studied everything from poetry to medicine to astronomy. By the time he was 14, he was already a master of rhetoric, which means he could speak convincingly and persuade others to do what he wanted them to do. Needless to say, with such a brilliant mind and an army at his disposal, there was no stopping him. After King Philip's assassination when Alexander was just 20, he inherited the throne, and soon after he set out to fulfill his father's dream of uniting Greece under his rule. With a combination of military brilliance and sheer willpower, he managed to defeat all of his enemies and create a huge empire stretching from Greece to India. However, his ambition knew no bounds. After finishing his conquest in Persia, he decided to move further east into Central Asia. But while crossing the River B, his army deserted him and they refused to go any further. So he had to return back to Babylon, where he died at the age of just 32. Now, if you look at his empire, it may seem like Alexander was just another power-hungry king who liked to conquer new lands and amass more power and wealth for himself. But the reality was far from it. He wasn't motivated by greed or lust for power. He was motivated by curiosity. All he wanted to do was explore the world and learn as much as possible. In fact, he was so curious that he would ask his generals to send him rare plants and animals from the far corners of his empire. He also invited scholars and scientists from all over the known world to come to his court and share their knowledge. His court became a hub of intellectual activity where ideas from different cultures were exchanged and debated. It was a melting pot of ideas where East met West and new discoveries were made. But sadly, Alexander never got to see any of these discoveries because he died before any of them were made. The real Alexander the Great was buried in Alexandria, the Egyptian city that he founded in 331 BC. But over the centuries, his tomb was lost, and nobody knew where his body lay. That was until 1978 when an international team of archaeologists led by French Egyptologist Zahi Hawass finally found it. They discovered his tomb deep inside the city's most famous landmark, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which was one of the ancient world's 7 wonders. The discovery was a sensation around the world, and it showed that Alexander the Great was much more than just a conqueror. He was a patron of learning, an explorer, and a man who dared to dream big and change the world forever. Part 2. The man who organized the known world. When Alexander took over his father's kingdom, it was a mess. The economy was in sharp decline, the treasury was empty, and the people were demoralized. But he didn't complain. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves and got to work. In just 4 years, he turned the kingdom into one of the richest and most powerful states in Greece. But he didn't stop there. He wanted to change the world. When he embarked on his journey to conquer Persia, he didn't just want to plunder its cities and take its treasure back home. He also wanted to understand its culture and learn from it. He studied Persian art and architecture. He learned their language and customs. and he even adopted some of their religious practices. In fact, he was so impressed by the Persian system of administration that he started implementing it in his own kingdom. One of the things that struck him was their method of sending messages. You see, at that time, most countries used runners to deliver messages, which took a lot of time and effort. But the Persians had invented a much more efficient system using mounted riders on horseback. Alexander realized that this was the future of communication, and he adopted it in his own army. This allowed his generals to communicate with each other much more quickly, which helped them coordinate their attacks and win many battles. Another thing that Alexander noticed was how much better the roads were in Persia compared to Greece. He realized that good roads were essential for a strong military and a prosperous economy, so he ordered his soldiers to repair the roads as they conquered new territories. He also built new roads wherever necessary. This created a network of roads that stretched from Greece to India, which helped trade and cultural exchange flourish throughout his empire. But perhaps Alexander's greatest contribution to the world was his library. He founded the Library of Alexandria in 283 BC, and it quickly became one of the largest and most important libraries in the ancient world. Scholars from all over the known world came to Alexandria to study and research. Alexander also invited all the leading scientists of his time to come to his court and do their work there. He gave them all the resources they needed, and he let them pursue their studies without any interference. As a result, some of the greatest scientific discoveries were made in Alexandria during Alexander's reign. For example, Euclid, the mathematician who developed the foundations of geometry, taught at the library. He created a system of axioms and postulates that became the basis of Euclidean geometry, which is still used today. Other scientists like Archimedes made groundbreaking discoveries in physics and engineering. He developed the first pulley, the compound pulley, the Archimedes spiral, and the screw pump. He also calculated the value of pi, and he figured out how to calculate the area and volume of a sphere. These discoveries had a profound impact on the world, and they changed the way we understand the universe. Sadly, Alexander never got to see any of these discoveries because he died before any of them were made. The Library of Alexandria was eventually destroyed by a fire in 48 BC, but its legacy lived on. It inspired other great libraries like the Library of Pergamum and the Library of Rome, and it laid the foundation for modern scientific research. So there you have it, the story of Alexander the Great, the man who organized the known world and changed it forever. He may not have been the first to invent the mounted rider system, the pulley, or the library, but he was the first to use them on such a large scale. He was the first to realize the importance of communication, transportation, and knowledge. And he was the first to put them all together to create a system that worked on an empire-wide scale. That's why Alexander was truly the man who organized the known world. He created a network of roads, a postal service, a library, and a scientific academy that helped to connect the East and the West, that helped to spread knowledge and innovation, and that helped to lay the foundation for modern civilization. But you know what? I think Alexander's story is even more amazing when you consider the fact that he died at such a young age. He was only 32 when he kicked the bucket, which means he had a lot more plans and projects that he wanted to finish. Who knows what he would have accomplished if he had lived longer? Maybe he would have conquered India and China. Maybe he would have explored the Americas. Maybe he would have discovered new scientific principles that would have changed the world. But the fact that he died so young makes his story even more tragic and inspiring at the same time. It reminds us that life is short and that we should make the most of it. It also shows us that even if someone dies young, they can still leave a lasting legacy on the world. And that's exactly what Alexander did. His empire may have fallen apart after his death, but his ideas and innovations continued to live on. They inspired later generations of scientists, explorers, and leaders, and they continue to shape the world we live in today. So the next time you use the internet, drive down a paved road, or check out a book from your local library, Take a moment to think about Alexander the Great and his contributions to our world. He may have died over 2,000 years ago, but his legacy lives on through all of these things and so much more.